The sheer scale of modern business it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. I mean, we're talking about companies so massive, they're like their own little countries. So how on earth does anyone even begin to manage something that huge?
Okay, just think about a company like Nestle for a second. They're not just selling, one thing. We're talking thousands of different products, and each one is tweaked for local tastes in pretty much every country on the planet. And then you've got Apple on the other side of the coin, wrangling this absolutely mind-boggling global supply chain just to build one iPhone that's the same for everybody. The logistics are just wow.
So, how do companies actually handle this global puzzle? Well, it pretty much boils down to two main playbooks. First, you've got what's called the multi-domestic strategy. That's Nestle, right? They let local managers call the shots and customize things. Then you've got the global strategy, think Apple, where the head office keeps a super tight rein on everything to make sure it's all standardized. Totally different approaches, and each one comes with its own massive management headache.
So how do managers steer these giant ships without crashing? That's exactly what we're going to break down. We'll start with the puzzle itself, then look at the number one tool they use, controlling. We'll walk through the three key steps, measuring, comparing, and acting. And finally, we'll see how it all loops back together. All right, let's dive in.
All right, so let's get right to the core of the problem, the big question that keeps every manager up at night.
I mean, seriously, just imagine it for a second. You've got all these different things happening at once. People, products, projects. How do you know if you're actually winning or losing? How can you tell if the big plan is working or if you're, sailing straight towards an iceberg?
Well, the answer is a management tool that, I'll be honest, it sounds a little intense. But it's not what you think. It has nothing to do with being a control freak or micromanaging everyone. It's actually a really smart system for just staying on track, and it's called controlling.
And at its core, controlling is really just a simple three-part loop. First, you monitor what's going on, then you compare that to what you planned to happen, and finally, you correct your course if you need to. That's it. Monitor, compare, correct. Simple as that.
Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the GPS in your car, or maybe a ship's compass. Controlling is the navigation system for the whole company. It's constantly telling you, okay, this is where you are right now, and this is where you're supposed to be. And crucially, it's the thing that starts beeping at you the second you take a wrong turn.
And this whole navigation system, it runs on that super simple but really powerful three-step process we just mentioned. Step 1, measure what's actually happening. Step 2, compare that to your goal. And step 3, take action. This is the engine of the whole thing, so let's really dig into each step.
All right, first up, step 1, measuring performance. You've probably heard that old saying in business, right? You can't manage what you don't measure. And it is so true. Getting good, solid data is the bedrock of this entire process. Without it, you're just guessing.
Now, to get the full story, managers have to be kind of like detectives, pulling information from different places. And yeah, each method has its pros and cons. Like just walking around and seeing things for yourself, that gives you amazing, unfiltered context. But it's also kind of slow and, it's just your opinion. On the flip side, a big statistical report gives you the cold, hard facts, but it can't tell you the why behind the numbers. The real secret sauce is knowing how to blend all these methods together to see what's really going on.
Okay, so you've got your measurements, you've got numbers. Now what? A number by itself is pretty much meaningless, right? It only starts to tell a story when you compare it against something else. A goal, a target, what we call a standard.
And this is a really key idea for managers. The goal here isn't perfection. It's about staying within a reasonable range. Look, everything has little ups and downs, right? That's normal. A good manager doesn't freak out over every tiny little blip. Instead, they set up these guardrails, an acceptable range, and they only jump into action when performance goes way outside those limits. That's the signal that something might actually be wrong.
Let's make this real. Pretend you're the manager at this gardening supply store looking at your July sales report. Your eyes scan down the list. Okay, heirloom seeds. Wow, we're killing it there, way over our goal. Awesome. But then you see vegetable plants. Oof, we are way under what we predicted. That's the significant deviation. That's the flashing red light on your dashboard telling you, hey, look over here.
So, you've done step 1, you've measured. You've done step 2, you've compared. And you've found a big problem, like our sad vegetable plant sales. Now comes the moment of truth, the most important step of all. What are you going to do about it?
Okay, so you've found that problem. You basically have 3 paths you can take. First, if the difference is actually pretty small, you can just Do nothing. Let it ride. Second, if it's a real issue, you can try to correct the performance. Maybe retrain your staff or launch a new ad campaign. But there's a third option that a lot of people forget. You can revise the goal itself. Maybe, just maybe, the original target was kind of crazy to begin with.
Now, I know this flowchart looks a little complicated, but let's just trace the path for our vegetable plants. Okay, first question. Is the standard being met? Nope. Next question. Is the variation acceptable? Definitely not. So that leads us to this fork in the road, and this is the million-dollar question. Was the standard itself realistic? If yes, then we got to fix our performance. But if the answer is no, like maybe there was a freak heat wave that nobody predicted, then trying to hit that old goal is pointless. The smart move is to change the goal.
And this brings us full circle to the final, and I think most powerful idea here. Because this whole measure, compare, act thing, it's not a one-and-done deal. Not at all.
This is super important to get. Controlling isn't just about damage control or putting out fires. It's really about gathering intelligence. Every single piece of data you collect, every comparison you make, it's all feedback. It's information that makes the whole organization smarter for the next time.
And this right here, this shows you the whole beautiful system in action. Look how the information from controlling feeds right back into planning. What you learn from your performance today directly helps you set smarter, better goals for tomorrow. It's not just a checklist, it's this powerful, virtuous cycle of always getting better.
And that's the big takeaway. Controlling isn't just some boring management task. It's the engine that drives everything else. It's the feedback loop that lets you learn from the past to win in the future.
So I'll leave you with this. This whole powerful cycle, it's not just for giant corporations. Think about it. Whether you're trying to hit a fitness goal, learn a new language, or just finish a project at work, the logic is exactly the same. Measure where you are, compare it to where you want to be, and then take action to close the gap. So my question for you is, what's one goal in your life right now where this simple little compass could help you navigate?